Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today I will talk about the press release. Press releases are sent to outlets such as newspapers, broadcast stations, and magazines to deliver a strategic message from an organization that the media ideally will publish or broadcast. The primary audiences for the press release are reporters and editors, although some organizations publish press releases on their own websites for audiences to view. So, audiences, or rather journalists, use press releases as a reporting tool, relying on them to provide essential information and therefore making it easier for them to cover a variety of events. So, journalists use press releases as a reporting tool because they've got important information, essential information in press releases. Journalists can refer to, not supposed to rewrite them, they're not supposed to adopt them holistically. Okay, now journalists will not take our press release seriously if the content is not newsworthy and it is not written in an accepted style. Make sure that the press release contains attributed information with proper sources and is error-free. Before writing the release, ask yourself the following questions. Is the announcement or event newsworthy? Does it appeal to the media outlet's audience? Some announcements do not warrant a press release and can simply be posted on the company website. What is the key message? What should the reader take away? Who is the target audience for the release? Although you're writing the release for the media, you need to keep in mind the kind of readers or listeners you hope to attract. Now, there are several reasons for press releases to be written and distributed. The key element is that it's got to be newsworthy. So it's just like writing a news article. It's got to be newsworthy. It's got to have some value to audiences. Firstly, it could be about a new product launch. It could be about you updating on existing products. Thirdly, new partnerships. Fourthly, new office openings. Fifth, new team member, or perhaps you've hired somebody big. Awards that are basically important to highlight, crisis communication, and so on. The press release is written on company letterhead with press release on the top left-hand corner. And below this, indicate when it will be released, whether for immediate release, immediate use, or under embargo until the date when you allow media to release information due to sensitive information or for giving time to journalists to do research on the topic. On the top right-hand corner, put contact news writing technique and style should be used. When you talk about the press release, be sure to use the inverted pyramid to organize the information throughout the press release. Include at least two quotations, one from the company or organization and another from, for example, a customer, current or former attendee at the event. After you finish with the body, put the boilerplate at the end of the document. The boilerplate provides information about the company or organization similar to the About Us section that you might find on a company website. The press release should be as concise as possible and ideally no longer than one page. If it exceeds one page, do not split paragraphs. Instead, put the word more at the bottom center of the first page to indicate to the reader that there is more content on a second page. Include 3 pound signs or a cluster of hashtags, which are a cluster of hashtags, or 30 at the bottom of the press release to indicate the end of the press release. So there are no more pages after that. So the inverted pyramid is, of course, again, an ideal format to follow when you talk about the content itself, the content of the press release. In other words, it's got to be newsworthy, it's got to be written like a news, but basically announcing about new products, updates, and so forth. And you want journalists to use this information for their articles. So there are the 5 W's and 1 H, which you can examine because it's basically this article is an extension of the 5W1H to keep it journalistic. Yeah. And we have, of course, examples of summary leads, which you can use press releases. So very similar to the actual news article itself. Another summary lead, citing sources in news articles, how to write a news article, naming sources. The sources need to be named as in an assignment. Yeah. So the mayor expressed his support according to police records. The jury will announce its decision tomorrow. Who said that? The court made. So all quotes must be attributed, including the name of the person speaking the sentence and surround their exact words, quotation marks. Read my lips, yeah. Who said that? Former President George Bush. Never change what someone said. Yeah, double check if you're not sure of the exact wording. If a grammatical error in the exact quotation might make the person look bad, then the reporter needs to decide if it would be unfair to leave the mistake. Check with your editor. Usually what I do is, if there's slight issues, I just edit it, right? I edit the quote. But if they're huge, it's a big problem. What happens is I will paraphrase it, not use it as a quotation, or look for other quotations that have the least grammatical errors in them, or no grammar in them. So use sources. Stories are more balanced when multiple points of view are presented, yeah, so that it's not just like one point of view. Be sure you don't use just the official source for information. Try to talk with all the parties involved. For example, a story on needs to include information from people who ask for money, people who've been asked for money, people who've given money, and the people who refuse, not just city officials. Because sources have different perspectives, their information may contradict. And the reporter has a responsibility to double check information for accuracy. In the example above, any claim of increased panhandling should be checked with public records. Is there any complaints or police action? Can you observe for yourself or ask people who regularly drive those streets for their observation? In particular, any opinion must be attributed. Adding the opinion of persons involved in the story can add personal to a story. However, never include or shape the story to show his or her opinion. The reporter's job is to build a complete picture that the reader can base a decision on. How to distribute your press release: through email, through PR distribution services, publish on your website, share on social media channels. And this is an example of a press release under embargo that can be published from 16 September 9 onwards. So this is the look of it, right? Embargoed until, yeah, can be published from 16 September onwards. Immediate release means that you can use it immediately. The reporters can use this information and publish it immediately. Example of a good press release is, it has a headline that hooks a reader, that attracts readers, and a first sentence that answers the 1, 2, 3, 4 W's. But of course, we have the why and how here. We have the additional why and how here, right? So as you can see this, but ideally, of course, it should be the 5W1H here. And we have stats, right? You have credibility that's added here, right? More stats, and a bulleted list, isn't it, of key insights. So this is key, this is important information. And as you can see, there are lots of bulleted information, right? And there are quotes. As you can see, there's a quote. Okay, so quote, it doesn't, yeah, said, okay, so this is like a quote from the same person, really, so it's just a continuation. It has hyperlinks, right? It's got URLs, right? So you have, yeah, hyperlink, deadline, my main point of release. You have the issuing company logo because it's got to be on letterhead, and you have other information that are important because and then the boilerplate as well. So the boilerplate is also there, which means that it refers to the company. Yeah, so the media contact is down here. Of course, there are different formats, isn't it? Right, and you can see media contact here. Sometimes it's up there. So this is a okay. Now let's go back and so again, headline, dateline, quotes, contact, the press contact, they call it press contact now, sometimes media contact about the company, call to action, description. You can see there are the hashtags there, right? Which means it's the end. After that, the boilerplate. Yeah, sub headline, optional is optional headline, and this should be the summary lead, isn't it, right? And there's more information on the press release, which of course is something that I prefer. I prefer the format issued by the Associated Press for a press release because I think it's because it's the Associated Press is very popular amongst media organizations, and of course house styles have their style. And I think we should go further and look at the press release format issued by AP. Okay, example of upcoming press release, event press release, part 1, because I had to chop it up. Now this would be the headline, sub-headline, isn't it, right? And then you have the date, and then you have information on Cambridge, Massachusetts, and then you have this should be, of course, the 5W1H, and then of course the when. The when has been pushed to the second paragraph. Of course, the first 2 paragraphs are usually they contain important information. You have the theme of the event here, right? So you've got the focus that's been underscored, optimism and excellence at this year's event. So it's a premier conference. So we talk about MIT Sloan and this is one day, features leadership insights and expertise on panel sessions that include M&A 2021, upskilling the team, long-term thinking, pivots, big and small, data automation, KPIs, and the CFO guide to digital business, right? So the insights and expertise on panel sessions include these kind of topics. And this year's event will be held where, right? And when. Okay, you can also act virtually. And this is the theme. As you can see, this is the theme, right? And there's a quotation here by the chair of the summit. Yeah, that's been, that is a quote of the chair of the summit. Oops, sorry. And then founded in 2000, this is like a bit of background information about the summit. And it's not really, it's background information and gives you extra details. This year's speaker lineup includes a speaker lineup here. So it's not like, it's not an event that's just started recently, but it's an event that's gone on for quite some time, right? And brings together financial executives and leading faculty from MIT to learn and discuss high-level strategies, right? Practical insights and the integration of knowledge and creativity. So all of this, so the purpose of it, when it's been founded, and the purpose of this year's speaker, and then the highlights, so it doesn't quite state the program, but the highlights of the program, right? So you have morning fireside chat, keynote panel featuring so and so, special presentation, closing keynote. So it's like the program, but it's been put in bulleted form and simple form, right? About MIT Sloan, right? CFO Summit. So you have something like a boilerplate here. How It's about the summit, it's not organization. Previously, we've been looking at, the organization information, but the organization about us, about us information. But this is more of the summit, when it started. So it's kind of rapid. There's kind of a repetition here, which is not very good. But this is how it's been written, and I thought it was a good example, or close to being a good example, because it has, the key elements are important to have in a press release on an upcoming event. So that's of the PowerPoint presentation. I'd like to refer to the format of a press release according to the AP style, right? So you have here immediate release, contact your name and organization here for more, but you also have for more information here, which I don't like. I don't quite like the fact that they're both, because it didn't quite make, isn't it, when you have two like this? So I would choose wherever, and I think perhaps it's better to have on the top right hand corner. But yeah, and of course this indicates, but you do see some having this information down here. So you have this sign stating that it's the end and about the business, and of course all of this, right? And you have a subheader and so forth. So this would be more of the Associated Press style, right? Okay, I think that's it for today. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.